Alright, so having decided that your firm would like to expand internationally and having assessed the relative strengths according to Porter's Diamond in terms of the national competitive advantage of each of the potential markets and also decided on which international strategy you'd like to employ, your final question that you need to answer is which international entry mode strategy you're going to utilize when you are looking to expand into that respective market. And there are 5 available modes that we are going to look at today, and they are exporting, licensing, strategic alliances, acquisitions, and new wholly owned subsidiaries. As you can see from the diagram here, as we go down that list, the control for your firm as in terms of expanding internationally will increase, but you'll also see that the risk also increases as we go down that column, and we're going to explain why that is the case. And so the choice that you make will have an impact on both the control available to you as a firm, but also the risk that that particular entry mode carries. Alright, the first we're going to have a look at is exporting, and this is when a firm sends its products that it produces in its home country overseas. So basically nothing changes for you as a firm. You still continue to manufacture everything in your home country, but now you're just sending at least part of that production overseas. This means that you can avoid the expenses to establish operations in the host country that come with most of the other entry modes. It's by far the cheapest in terms of expanding overseas. It usually involves contractual agreements. You need somebody, once it is sent overseas, somebody to distribute the product, ensure that it is actually being sold. So you need to contract somebody to do that, another firm. What we do tend to find though is that the export costs can still be quite high, and it's especially due to things like high transportation costs. If you're an Australian firm and you're looking to send things over to the United States, that's going to cost you a fair bit in shipping. We also see things like tariffs, that is laws which basically make it more expensive to bring certain things into particular industries in a country. They often also make it more expensive for you to export your produce overseas. It becomes expensive. There's basically an additional tax on top of whatever the cost is for you to send it overseas. Firms, for these reasons, usually export to countries that are closest to their facilities. A lot of the time it's basically a way that firms can dip their toe in the water, so to speak, when they're looking to expand internationally. It's often the first step that firms try if they're looking to expand overseas. They can be either positively or negatively impacted by trade policies. Certainly things like tariffs are clearly a negative influence in terms of a trade policy, but there's also things like free trade agreements or FTAs which generally make it much easier. So the North American Free Trade Agreement, the Asia Pacific Trade Agreement, and the European Union FTAs, they are all basically examples of legislation that's been put into place to make it easier and cheaper for firms to export things across borders. There is, however, the issue of having little control over the marketing and distribution once it reaches that foreign country or that foreign market. As I say, you have to contract somebody else to do that, so it does become quite expensive. You might have been able to take advantage of this nice little free trade agreement that was set up by the Australian and the South Korean governments. But if you can't trust somebody in South Korea to look after your Australian products, then that's going to be a bit of a problem. Licensing and franchising are the second mode that we're going to have a look at here. Firstly, licensing involves an agreement that allows a foreign company to purchase the right to manufacture and sell your products within a host country's market or a set of markets. So it's basically allowing somebody to sell something under your name overseas as a way of entering that market. And we've got some good examples here, some potentially disturbing examples of licensing in use. So we've got Shaquille O'Neal allowing his basically brand name to be used on a type of soda here that is sold overseas. The Harley Davidson brand is being licensed out to foreign firms so that they can use it now. Nothing to do with actual motorcycles. It's now being used in deodorants and aftershaves, as you can see here. We can also see the more disturbing side of licensing. The production company who produced the Texas Chainsaw Massacre films. Why, of course, wouldn't you make or allow McDonald's to license your brand when making Happy Meal products? Or at the same time, If you're Hello Kitty, of course, you're going to license out your brand to manufacturers of toy guns. I personally wouldn't particularly like my 5-year-old girl playing with a Hello Kitty branded AK-47, but it does clearly happen. These are all true examples, believe it or not. So what basically happens is the licensor, that is your firm, is normally paid a royalty on each unit that is produced and sold overseas by the licensee. As you can imagine, from the licensor's point of view, that's great because it means that you have money rolling in the door when you're not really having to do anything. The other firm, the licensee, is taking care of all of the hard work in terms of setting up operations overseas and selling things under your name. All you have to worry about is how much money you get back through those royalty fees on each unit that is produced and sold. You do get less control though over that selling and distribution. Obviously, if you're relying on another firm to take care of that, then you as a firm have less control yourself over what happens in that foreign market. And international firms may learn the technology, that is, your licensees may learn that technology of the party with whom it formed an agreement, and then produce or sell a similar competitive product after that licensing expires. So what often happens is firms originally start off as a licensee. They agree to take on your brand name and basically produce things under your name and give you some money back for that. But if they then learn your trade secrets, if they gain access to your competitive advantages through your capabilities and your core competencies, your resources, if they then learn those secrets, they can often then become a competitor by saying, well, why rely on another firm? We now know how to make money here. Let's do it ourselves. And so that often is another disadvantage associated with licensing. There is also franchising, which is a type of licensing, where a firm, that is the franchisor, uses the franchise as a contractual relationship to describe and control the sharing of its resources and capabilities with partners, who are known as the franchisees rather. And we have some good examples here of franchising. McDonald's, a great example. All their different stores are franchises. It makes you hungry just looking at it, doesn't it? Hilton International is another good example. No, not that Hilton. We're talking about the hotel chain. I think that particular hotel there is in Dubai or somewhere around the Middle East. It looks sensational either way. Subway, Harvey Norman. So clearly fast food chains are clear examples, often, of franchises. It does spread the risks and enable firms to use resources, capabilities, and their core competencies without having to merge or acquire or even create their own company. So it does spread the risk and the cost in that way, and is especially attractive in fragmented industries like retail, hotel, and the fast food industries. It is also attractive to the franchisee, that is the person who is opening the new McDonald's store, for example, for you. The business model is already there. McDonald's as a brand already exists and everybody knows about it. The training and systems are often provided for McDonald's. The head office certainly provide training and all the systems to open a new store to their franchisees. And it usually has demonstrated success, otherwise they wouldn't be engaging in franchising in the first place. So it does have advantages for both the franchisor and franchisees, but also carries with it the same disadvantages that we talked about previously, more broadly in terms of licensing.